The council meeting of November 5th will come to order. Good evening. Would ask that all in attendance turn off or silence your electronic devices and please stand to honor God and country. Father, thank you for the work you have blessed in our city over the past year. Father, we thank you for 3 CRA builder development agreements in the works. From Paragon Group, we thank you. We thank you for Richmond, and we thank you for Enigma. We thank you for those community connections that are making a positive difference. Strong code enforcement, regularly scheduled town hall meetings, and partnerships with our schools. We thank you for dedicated professional staff who are the hands and feet in making this an amazing city. Thank you, Father, for what you are building in Temple Terrace for our good and for your ultimate glory. May we be good stewards focused on building up rather than tearing down. We pray this in the name above all names. Amen. We will now pledge our great nation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. If there are persons wishing to address council, forms are available in the back of the room and may be completed and directed to the clerk to my right. We open this evening's council meeting with a State of the School presentation from King High School. If Barrett Zebos, Lorraine Christensen, and Principal Arlene Castelli would please come forward.
Hi there.
Good evening.
Mr. Zebos was not able to join us tonight, so we'll go ahead and start. Ms. Christensen?
This is the first time addressing anyone like this. Thank you very much for your donation. I am the mentor and sponsor for the robotics team at school, and you guys gave us a generous donation of close to $600, with which we purchased a large cart to transport the robot, and also a bandsaw to add to our tools, so I appreciate it. This year, we've asked again for a special camera so the kids can program the vision into the robot and control it with Java programming. So the kids are doing a lot. It's really cool to see. I hope you'll come out and watch us compete. We compete at Roboticon over at USF, and also we'll be competing in Orlando. Will plug in, I'm looking for volunteers to come out, people who maybe don't have any skills but are willing to come out and work with us on Saturdays, the beginning of the year, and Wednesdays after school. No special skills needed. Basically, it just keep kids from holding things while they drill and putting the drill through their hand. Like, that doesn't look like a good idea. So we are looking for mentors and volunteers, and I hope that you guys can sponsor us and we're willing to come out again. Thank you.
I will talk for Barrett Zebos, who was our media specialist. You guys granted him a $200 grant last year that he used for Reading Rocks, which is a program used for our bottom quartile, our level 1 and 2 students. So he was using that as incentive. So if he were here, he'd be thanking you for that as well. So I'll switch over to me. My name is Arlene Castelli. I'm the proud new principal of King High School. I have been in Temple Terrace for quite a while. I came to college at USF and moved into Temple Terrace, worked at the rec center with a couple of people that are still here. Carl and James worked there. So I have been around for a while. Been married, and I am married, and my children went through our Temple Terrace schools. They went through Lewis, Greco, and King High School. My youngest just graduated in May. So when I became principal of King High School, very proud because I got to see it as a parent, and now I get to see it as a principal. We're very proud of the programs that we have there. We have 2 strong programs that we have right now. Our CAPS program, which is King AP for advanced placement classes. That was a program that we had that was pretty strong. It went down a little bit, but we are building that back up again to get some more of our Temple Terrace students in there. We have an IB program that does very well. We have a 93% pass rate this past year, and for the past 7 years, we've had over 90% pass rate for our IB students as well. So again, very proud of them. We want to continue that on. Before I came to King High School, I was a principal over at Williams IB, which is a little bit outside of the Temple Terrace area, but a lot of our Temple Terrace students went to the middle school went to Williams as the middle school and have come over to King High School. So those poor kids are going to have me for 7 years, but that's okay. So I understand the IB program pretty well. So that's what we have going on right now. So proud to be part of Temple Terrace. Thank you for inviting us up here today. Okay.
Thank you, Principal, and thank you. I believe Carol Dell is the school task force member that works with King. Is that correct, Carol? Okay, very good. Thank you, Principal, for being here. Next is Hillsborough County Livable Roadways Committee appointment. There is one vacancy on the Hillsborough County Livable Roadways Committee. The city received one application from Sandra Pissarelli. And would the applicant like to speak or address council? Is the applicant here this evening?
I am.
Would you
No,
li-
I'm fine. It's good to hear. But
Thank-
thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you. I would ask for a motion to approve the appointment of Sandra to the Hillsborough County Livable Roadways Committee for a term extending from November 5th, 2018 until November 5th, 2020.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, please signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the nay sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Sandra, and thank you for your commitment to our city. Next, if the minutes of October 16, 2018 City Council meeting are acceptable, would entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any additional discussion? All in favor, please signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay sign. Minutes stand approved. Next, persons wishing to be heard on items not listed on the agenda or items on the consent agenda. A 3-minute time limit will be imposed on all comments from the public. Individual members of the public who are present in the audience may designate in writing a representative to speak on their behalf, not extending beyond a 10-minute period. As speakers come to the podium, please state your name and city of residence. During public comments on items not on the agenda, the city managers and directors in attendance do make note of these items. During the city manager's report later in the agenda, Mr. Stevenson may make comment on the items brought up, or where further research is necessary, he or staff he assigns will reach back to our residents. We want to ensure our residents that all comments relating to city business are taken seriously. Kathy Spalding.
Hi, I'm Kathy Spalding. I live at 609 Herschel Drive. I am here representing the Garden Club to tell you that we have a wonderful flower show for the city. It's on Saturday from 1 to 4. And since we have limited parking because of the Arts Festival, we have a special invitation for each of you and a parking pass so you can get into our parking area. And I don't know, can I give them to you? We're going to have designs. We're going to have lots of horticulture. If you wondered what that stuff in your yard is, come and see. We'll have it all laid out for you. We have about 150 plants, and we'll have 50 designs, and we'll have some fairy gardens, which is different this time. We also will have Terry Claren painting the flower show as it's going on, so it should be pretty interesting. We also have 3 vendors of plant material outside the clubhouse, so you can't go wrong. And of course, all you have to do is walk next door to the Arts and Crafts Festival, which will be going on as well. So we'd love to have you come join us from 1 to 4 on Saturday at Woodmont Clubhouse.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank you.
Spalding. Susan Greenbaum.
Hang on.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Spalding, there might be a question.
I do have a question.
Yes.
You just said 1 to 4, but the parking permit says 7 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Wow, you're going to have a long day.
Yeah. So
Yes,
is that, okay, so that's the art festival, is at 7 to 6. Okay, thank you.
the Arts Festival is from 10 to 4.
Okay, okay.
But some people are going to be parking early because they'll be our vendors, and it will be open at 7.
Okay.
I don't expect anybody who wants to wait around until 1 o'clock to.
Okay, so the festivities start at 1, but you can
Yes.
park as early as 7 a.m.
Yes,
Okay.
that's correct.
All right. Tailgate party.
Thank you, Ms. Spalding. Susan Greenbaum.
Good evening. I have 3 items, a compliment, a suggestion, and a query. I'll start with a compliment. I read in Facebook about the new seed catalog that's been installed in the library. I think that is an absolutely wonderful idea, and I hope to see it expand, and I'll be interested to see how it develops. More we grow food, the healthier we'll be. I also have been hearing, and I don't, is Sue Dawson going here?
That's me.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm going to anticipate you, but I don't know nearly as much as you do, so I'm just going to do this briefly. This is about the water goat. The water goat is a very ingenious device that was invented by a guy over in St. Petersburg. And what it does is it captures plastic and trash and stuff as it comes downriver, keeping it out of the waterways, eliminating a tremendous amount of the really bad trash that ends up in the gullets of turtles and fish and other animals that don't do well by it. So we have an opportunity, and Sue will tell you about this, to add that to the sort of the amenities of Temple Terrace and the kinds of things that really make our natural environment better and contribute to solving one of the big problems that we are facing. So I hope that you'll consider this seriously. I understand it doesn't cost very much, and there are a number of partners, Bank of America and, people like that can help to finance and to staff the cleanup. And I just thought I'd love to see that done. And my last query is to the mayor. I have not seen any statement about the controversy over your credentials, and this is not going away. Every time I see somebody who I say I live in Temple Terrace, I get that. And it needs to get resolved. It's not going to go away, and it's not a minor issue. And so that's my query. It's a suggestion. I think that a public statement concerning the facts and the sort of remedies for this is really important for the city. And I thank you very much.
Tara Ferguson.
Hi, my name is Tara Ferguson. I live at 403 Druid Hills Road, and I'm coming with a compliment. I really appreciated the way that our Temple Terrace Police Department stepped up. I live on Druid Hills. It is a motorway, and I was almost hit at my mailbox. Also, I have a round driveway, and one car sped through my driveway to get around the garbage truck that was picking up my trash. So I really appreciated a cup of coffee with a cop the other day. One of our council members came out, so thank you. And I appreciate that. I love that in a small town we can talk about these things. I would ask that the council consider, I know we're going into budget season, so what do we need to do to support that? We love our police officers here, and you all are aware of the challenges that they face, and so how can we help them? I would ask you to address that question. I would also ask you to address just maybe finding long-term measures. I mean, today I was out at my street, and, people are blowing by again at 60 miles an hour, and it's not because the police are not driving up and down that road. They are. I live very close to Bonnieberry Park, and there's a hill and then another hill, and, they just go fast, maybe painting numbers, maybe movable speed humps. I don't know. But could we find some longer-term solutions? That said, our police officers have been amazingly responsive, very professional, and just kudos to them. I don't think they get enough of that.
Thank you, Ms. Ferguson. Is there anyone else that would like to address council on items not on the agenda? Seeing none, moving forward, a Municipal Code Enforcement Board lien reduction petition for 8433 Laurelon Place. Municipal Code Enforcement Board Chair Richard Schmidt will present the case. Mr. Schmidt.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, council members, and staff. I am here this evening to introduce the board recommendation for the lien reduction for the property located at 8433 Laurelon Place with a lien amount of $1,000. The city, this Criswell. The city versus Richard Criswell in case number 11-0553. After hearing from the Director Baroni, the petitioner, Mr. Criswell, and the board discussion, the board on a recommendation as presented by to the board by Director Baroni that there be no reduction of the lien from $1,000. A motion and a 6-0 vote, the board recommendation to the council is for the lien amount to remain at $1,000. With no lien reduction. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to respond. And is the petitioner here this evening? Yes, he is not.
Mr. Baroni, does staff have anything additional to add? And the property owner is not present this evening?
He is not.
Are there members of the public that would like to address council on this item? Council, questions at all? Council would entertain a motion to approve the Municipal Code Enforcement Board recommendation for the lien not to be reduced in case 11-0553, City versus Richard Criswell, for the property located at 8433 Laurelon Place. Is there a motion?
I would make a motion that we accept the recommendation of the lien board to not reduce, or the code board rather, to not reduce the lien. However, I'd like to add to the motion direction to the city attorney not to pursue foreclosure until beginning on February the 1st. I had discussion with the petitioner at the code board meeting. He is agreeable, or I have to assume he's talking in good faith. He says he's agreeable to paying the fine. He would ask us to give him a little time before we initiate foreclosure. During the holiday season, he's in a bad financial position. He assured me that if we would give him a couple of months to set aside the money, that he would pay it by February the 1st.
We have a motion. Is there a second? I'll second that motion. We have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? All in favor, please signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the nay sign. Motion stands approved. Thank you.
Thank
Next is a Municipal Code Enforcement Board lien reduction petition for the property located at 10046 North 52nd Street. Once again, Chair Richard Schmidt will present the case.
Thank you. I am here this evening to introduce to the board the recommendation for a lien reduction for the property located at 10046 North 52nd Street with a lien amount of $5,550. The city versus Milford Collins in case number 17-0570. In case 170570, originated back in May of 2017. A lien reduction request was presented to the board at the October 10th, 2018 board meeting by Director Baroni. The property came into compliance in May of 2017 for a missing soffit, but remained out of compliance due to another smaller piece of soffit that was missing. Mr. Collins came into the director's office after receiving a letter noticing him of an accruing fine. He repaired the violation that same day, bringing the property into compliance. After hearing from Director Baroni, the petitioner, Mr. Collins, and board discussions, the board, on a recommendation as presented to the board by Director Baroni, to reduce the lien from $5,550 to $575. By motion and a 6-0 vote, the recommendation to the council is for the lien to reduce the lien to $575 with the stipulation that the reduced lien amount be paid in full within 30 days of the city council approval, or the lien will revert back to the full amount, $5,550. If you have any questions,
Is the property owner or representative in attendance?
he is not.
Are there members of the public wishing to address council on this item? Seeing none, if council determines that the lien reduction is appropriate, would call for a motion to approve a lien reduction in case number 17-0570, City versus Milford Collins, for the property located at 10046 North 52nd Street. Is there a motion?
Move to approve the Code Enforcement Board's recommendation to reduce the lien in case number 17-0570 from $5,550 to $575 contingent upon payment and city's receipt of payment within 30 days of the council meeting of November 5th, or the fine shall revert back to the original amount of $5,550.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the nay sign. Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Schmidt. Consent agenda. City Manager Stevenson will explain the items listed on the consent agenda. Mr. Stevenson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Council. 2 items on the consent agenda this evening. Item 5A is a resolution approving the purchase of a 2019 Peterbilt front-end loader for our sanitation department. Fiscal year 2018-19 budget includes funds for this purchase through Florida Sheriff's Association bid number 18-VEH 16.0, spec number 16. Funds for the expenditure are $259,270.98. Been allocated in account 480-2031-534.64-12. 2004 vehicle that's being replaced will be sold through auction, which has historically been the best way of surplusing this type of equipment. It's recommended that City Council adopt a resolution approving this purchase. Item 5B is part of the Police Department's vehicle replacement program. $156,000 was included in fiscal year 2018-19 budget in the Community Investment Tax Fund budget for the purchase of 4 police patrol vehicles. An additional $24,680 was also budgeted for the purchase of WatchGuard in-car camera systems to be installed in the newly acquired vehicles. The purchase of the 4 interceptor vehicles will be made through Prestige Ford of Mount Dora under Florida State Contract number 2510-0000-18-1. The vehicles will be purchased at a cost of $27,963.80 apiece for a payment of $111,855.20. Made from account number 160-1421-521.64-11. The resolution also includes the purchase of the in-car camera systems from a sole source vendor out of Allen, Texas, that we consistently have used in the past. The payment of $21,260 will be made from account 160-1421-521.64-99. The remaining budgeted funds will be used to purchase electric lights and vinyl graphics and other necessary equipment to mark and outfit the vehicles. The 4 existing patrol vehicles being replaced will be replaced through a process of disposal and sold at auction in accordance with the current City of Temple Terrace procedures. It's recommended that City Council adopt a resolution approving the purchase and outfitting of these 4 2018 Ford Police Interceptor vehicles. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Stevenson. Are there members of the public wishing to address council on items on the consent agenda? Seeing none, if the consent agenda is acceptable, would entertain a motion to approve items on the consent agenda. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
We have
Second.
we have a motion and a second. All in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay sign. Thank you. Motion carries. Next, item 6A, a resolution approving the school grant funding awards. Chair of the School Support Committee, Jen Wells, will explain.
Good
evening, Madam Mayor, council members, and staff. I am Jen Wells. I'm here tonight in my role as the chairperson of the School Support Committee. I'd also like to acknowledge some other members that are here tonight, Nathan Redmond, Kingsley Kelly, and Carol Dell, who all came out to support us. So we are here to let you know, I think you have in front of you the grants that we went through and discussed. We did receive 21 grants from 6 different schools within the deadline of October 1st that we had set. They totaled $15,348.43. We are thankful for the budget that you've given us of $7,200. So we had some discussion to have. We all read the grants ahead of time, scored them independently, and then came together at our meeting, discussed them further, and tried to come up with the grants that we felt like had the most impact, the most sustainability, in order to continue them at the schools long-term. I don't know, do you need me to go through grant by grant? I don't remember how we do this. Do I need to read them off?
If you'd like to, I think it would be educational for those that are viewing
fair.
and for those that are sitting with us
Okay.
tonight. Thank you, Ms.
So
Wells.
the grants that we have voted to approve are number 1802 from Temple Terrace Elementary, which is engaging students with poverty in mind. Should I say the amount? For $655.36. Next is 1803 from River Hills Elementary for first grade classroom library. That's for they asked for $915. We are recommending $500 towards that. 1804, again from River Hills, for empowering students through tech travels. They requested $750. We're recommending $583.66. 1805 from Piso, Fluency Intervention for Reading Success. They requested $260.30. We are recommending $100. 1807 from Focus Academy for expanding their musical program. They asked for $1,000. We are recommending $675. 1808 from Greco Middle for encouraging all Greco Cubs to be NJHS scholars. They asked for $620. We're recommending $385. 1809 from Piso for diverse seating for diverse learners. They requested $613, and we recommend a full funding of that one. 1812 from King High School, Tabs in the Lab. They requested $774.06. We recommended full funding. 1813 from King High School, Social Worker Services. They requested $1,000. We are recommending $350. 1816 from King High School for the Torque Robotics Team Camera, which you heard about earlier. They asked for $400, and we recommend a fully funded for that. 1818 from Piso, Engaging in Literacy Learning for Students with Autism, requesting $544.40. We're recommending full funding. 1819 from Piso Elementary, Super Sensory Super Friends, $498.82, recommended full funding. 1820 from River Hills Elementary, Weather Watchers, $492.07, recommend full funding. And 1821 from River Hills Elementary, Worldly Researchers, they requested $957.10, and we're recommending $628.63. So because of our budget, you can tell we had to go through and we couldn't fully fund, obviously, everybody. So again, we tried to make sure that we went through, we read the grants that we felt like were gonna have the most impact, where the people, put the most effort into it, showed how it was gonna really, truly benefit their students, either long-term or even if it was just for this year, but the most students that it could, and then made our recommendations based off of that. Any questions?
Very good. Are there any questions? Councilman Ross.
I do have one question. Regarding the social worker services at King, the $1,000 requested, $350 is recommended. Do you recall offhand what that is?
Yes, so there were several items that she had listed there for what they were asking for, and hold on, let me grab my notes here for you. And the reason that we didn't fully fund is because we felt like a lot of that could come from the community. So our person, actually Christian Wells is who normally is King's contact person, and unfortunately, he had to step down from his position because he's going on sabbatical. And so we do have an opening for that, but we will have another person in contact with them, which will be me. Because we felt like they could get some of these things from other places, our community area, so they wanted backpacks. Hang on, let me get my 1813. Backpacks and treats and things like that for the kids, but they also wanted to do something like a clothes closet where it was caps and gowns and some things like that, that we felt like that would be something very necessary right now that you couldn't just get donated. So when we went through and broke it down, we felt like the $350 at least got that going, and we felt like we had enough people in the community that we could get some of those other things, knowing that they already donate those to the schools in the area, and maybe King just didn't know how to reach out and ask for some of those items.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Are there any members of the public that would like to speak to this item? If not, if acceptable, would entertain a motion to approve the school grant funding awards in the amount of $7,200. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, please signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the nay sign. Motion carries. Thank you for your work.
Thank you, guys.
Continuing, a second public hearing and a second reading of Ordinance 1465 to adopt voluntary annexation of 7860 Professional Place, Annex Number 18-03. The public hearing is now open. Planner Marian Abrahamson will give a brief review.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of council. Marianne Abrahamson, planner with the city. I'm here to present ANX 1803, a voluntary annexation application for 7860 Professional Place. This is the second public hearing and reading. The owner and applicant is MAH Investments, and the applicant's agent is WGI Incorporated, who are here with us this evening. Again, the request is to annex 4.13 parcels of land, one parcel, into the city of Temple Terrace from Hillsborough County, located in the 301 industrial area. The proposed future land use, it would be industrial. Proposed zoning is light industrial. Per the 2017 Hillsborough County tax collector, this property had an assessed value of nearly $570,000 and an ad valorem value of $10,600. Staff recommends that council approve Ordinance 1465 for the annexation of 7860 Professional Place.
Thank you. Are there members of the public wishing to comment on this item?
Hi, Madam Mayor, and members of the council. I'm John Noonan, 305 South Glenarvan Avenue here in Temple Terrace. I question the wisdom of annexing isolated parcels and partial lots or partial developments into the city. I think the city is far better served when larger areas are annexed and areas not surrounded by Hillsborough County land. I can imagine, perhaps my imagination is too vivid, I can imagine a paving company. I think the intention is to locate a paving company on the property, and there could be fire risks. I don't know what the situation of the city is in serving that area with fire services. I don't know whether there are hydrants or whether we have the trucks to deal with something like that. So I can't tell you to turn this down, but I would tell you, I think you should be a little wary of annexing isolated pieces of property that are not contiguous with the rest of the city. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Noonan. Is there anyone else that would like to comment to council on this item? Seeing none, the public hearing is now closed. Council questions?
May I comment or respond? So this property is in fact contiguous with Temple Terrace. In fact, Florida statutes allows or does not allow annexation of parcels that are not contiguous. So this is contiguous to the west. Temple Terrace already does service this area.
Thank you.
Thank you. Council questions? Seeing none, if the clerk would please read the title of Ordinance 1465.
An ordinance of the City of Temple Terrace, Florida, providing for the voluntary annexation of one parcel of certain real property totaling 4.13 plus minus acres, lying within the unincorporated area of Hillsborough County and located in the southwest corner of Professional Place, and Maslin Drive, with an address of 7860 Professional Place, legally described in Exhibit A, attached hereto and made a part hereof, redefining the corporate boundaries of the city to include the annexed area, providing severability and effective date, and repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith.
Thank you. Would entertain a motion to adopt ordinance 1465.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, please signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay sign. Thank you. Motion carries. Next, a resolution approving the purchase of playground equipment. Carl Langfeld, Director of Leisure Services, will explain. Mr. Langfeld.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of City Council. Carl Langfeld, Leisure Services Director. This is yet another opportunity I have to stand in front of you and bring to you another great project that we're doing here within the city. What I'm requesting is for the purchase of 2 playground sets and some adult exercise equipment. The first set that we'll talk about is going to be installed at the Family Recreation Complex. The Family Recreation Complex hasn't had a playground on site since the mid-1990s, when it was removed as part of the expansion and initial renovation project at that facility. The playground that we've been using for the children there has been located behind Lewis Elementary School, which has served us very well over the years. As part of the renovation plans, we made sure that we incorporated space behind the facility for a playground. When I met with the playground representatives, they designed us a playground that would fit within its space and work within the space that we have there. So all this has been well planned out ahead of time to build a playground in there that will serve the users of the Family Recreation Complex for many years to come. The second playground that we are putting in will be at Biltmore Park. Biltmore Park's playground has been in place now, the one that is currently there, for 17 years. And it has been a great playground for that community, but the time has come for it to be replaced. A few weeks ago, I held 2 meetings out at Biltmore Park with members of the community. We advertised it on Facebook and door hangers around the neighborhood, and the response was fantastic. What I really learned about Biltmore Park is that place is a real focal point for that community. Everybody who came out to the park pushing strollers or riding up on bicycles, they all knew each other. All the kids knew each other, all the parents knew each other, all the families knew each other. And the reason they all knew each other was the park and the playground. So the time has come for that playground to be replaced, and we're also incorporating with it for the adults some outdoor exercise equipment to encourage them as they're jogging and walking around the park, and to exercise while their kids are playing on the park. So those are the 2 projects that, or 3 projects that are part of this request for resolution in the amount of $184,648.43 to Top Line Recreation, which will be piggybacking on a Osceola County Schools contract. And funds are appropriated in account 001-1896-572-6327. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Langfeld. I'd ask if there are members of the public wishing to address council on this item. Council questions? Councilman Pagorlik and then Councilman Ross.
I just want to mention something that you didn't mention, is that the Parks Department actually saved us about $100,000 by getting a grant, which reduced the price of the equipment. You got, what, $98,000 or something, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think that's important for the people to hear as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Ross.
That's what I wanted to ask about, Carl, was what's the source of that grant?
That was a grant that was initiated and arranged for through the manufacturer of the equipment. They assist municipalities in working on these grants to help fund the playgrounds that they're installing throughout the country. So they were the source of that grant effort.
What I'm trying to get at, though, is are they the funding source, or are they the catalyst that went somewhere else to get the $100,000? What's the source of the money?
The Move With Us program is a national program that helps to fund playgrounds that are being installed in schools and municipalities throughout the country.
Okay, still not what I'm getting at, though. Is that a federal government program, or is
I'm
that?
I'm not exactly sure of what the origin of those funds are, where they
Okay.
actually come from. That was something, again, that the representatives and the manufacturer worked on to help
Okay.
us get the most bang for our buck out of this
Okay,
project.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? If acceptable, would entertain a motion approving the purchase of playground equipment from Top Line Recreation, Inc. in the amount of $184,000, or $184,648.43.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay sign. Thank you. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Langfeld. Item 6D, a 3-year labor agreement with the International Association of Firefighters Local 3582. Fire Chief Ian Kemp will explain. Chief.
Honorable Mayor, Council, City Manager, Ian Kemp, your Fire Chief. In July, the city and union initiated talks for a successful labor agreement for the IAFF firefighters. The city and the IAFF negotiating team tentatively agreed to a new 3-year labor contract on October 22nd of this year. The IAFF union membership voted overwhelmingly to approve that contract on October 24th. The proposed contract falls within the parameters and direction given by you, the City Council. So therefore, it is recommended by the city, that I recommend that City Council adopt a resolution approving a 3-year labor agreement with the IAFF Local 3582. This agreement would be effective October 1st of 2018 through September 30th of 2021. I'd like to thank Janet Bledsoe and Christy from HR for their help on our team, as well as Assistant Fire Chief Shane Salmon. Also, the City Manager Charles Stevenson for his leadership and assistance during this process, and as well as the Union President Roger Tuning and his dedicated team of professionals, and they were definitely prepared during this process, and probably one of the smoothest processes, negotiating processes, and I've been through a lot that I've ever been involved in.
Thank you, Chief. I would ask if there are members of the public that would like to comment on this item. Seeing none, Council, do you have any questions? Seeing none, if acceptable, would entertain a motion approving a 3-year labor agreement with the International Association of Firefighters Local 3582. This agreement is effective as of October 1, 2018 through September 30th, 2021. Is there a motion?
I move to approve the contract with the firefighters as proposed.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, please signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the nay sign. Motion carries. Thank you very much, Chief, and I would ask President Roger Tuning if he would like to address the group.
Thank you. Good evening, Honorable Mayor, esteemed council members. I'm Roger Tuning, President of Temple Terrace Professional Firefighters, Local 3582, Firefighters Union. Just like to thank y'all for the vote of confidence and the across-the-board ayes. I'll be sure to convey that to the other members of the local. And I also like to thank the city manager, the fire chief, his negotiation team, Janet Bledsoe, and of course, the finance director, the number crunchers. So thank you very much.
Thank you, President Tuning. Next, changing payment company from AMS to Paymentus. Finance Director Lynn Boswell will explain.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, council members. We've been looking at payment options for over a year now since I've been here, when I found out from Michael Cox, our customer service manager, that we've been having some issues with AMS. So this has been a year research in the making sure that if we make this change, that it'll be a positive change, and we're at this point right now. So the recommendation is to go from AMS, which is our e-payment company, to Paymentus.
Are there members of the public wishing to address council on this item? Council, are there questions? If acceptable, would entertain a motion awarding Paymentus the contract which piggybacks off of Avon Park, Florida. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the nay sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Next, council business. City Manager Stevenson wanted to provide an update on Paragon. Mr. Stevenson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. At a late date on Thursday, we were scheduled to close on the Paragon deal last Thursday. That did not happen. We ended up with a little bit of complications out of the title company and the lender. for Paragon and getting that contract closed. Our attorney, Ms. Shoshone, worked feverishly Friday to try to get this resolved. Before you is a resolution that I will open to her to explain some of the conditions that the bank is looking for actually executed by this body rather than city administration. So I'll turn it over to Ms. Shoshone, and she can explain the purpose behind this.
There were some items in the title commitment specifically, it's like magic words. There was just specific language that the title company required that would have been something that could have probably been done long time ago when it was determined that you all wanted to sell the property. It was things that are now in this resolution, and so the specific language is there to satisfy basically the title company. This came about just within the last couple of weeks. However, it was after your last meeting, and we needed to wait until the meeting today for you to actually approve this language. And it's simply just acknowledging that sale of the land is in the best interest of the public and that it is not needed for any specific municipal purpose. So that was the magic language. Apparently, the lender, I was informed just over a week ago, that the lender was concerned about our land development code requirement that building on this particular piece of, or this, in this area, requires that structures be two-story or up to a certain number of feet. Mr. Moon is in the audience today and is happy to address this issue with you, but apparently his lender needed some firmer assurance and that it was acceptable to council that the building be one story. The concept plan was attached to the contract. It did show a one-story building. We felt that council had preliminarily said yes to that, but it wasn't, and we went back and reviewed old minutes and read to see what everybody had said. There was never anything really official approving that. A variance would probably still, a variance or a waiver during the site plan review period would probably be required. That would come after the closing. So the lender was looking for something more firm to happen before the closing. So you'll see a line, I believe it was section 5 in the resolution that addresses that. And the one remaining issue had to do with the reservation of mineral rights. Florida statute specifically states that contracts for sale of public land reserve certain mineral rights. Our contract with Paragon was conveying mineral rights. It didn't elaborate on that. It just simply said mineral rights. The statute addresses phosphate, metals, and petroleum. The resolution only addresses the conveyance of mineral rights. Unless you tell me otherwise, that is where we're leaving it with them. And I have informed Paragon's counsel that that's the only thing that's going to be acceptable in the deed that has been provided to us. Other than that, we've got all the documents ready to go. This also authorizes another thing that the title company wanted. It specifically authorizes the city manager to sign that deed at closing. So that's it.
Thank you, Jared. Mr. Moon, did you want to address council this evening?
I'm happy to address council, and for all of you that this may be my last time addressing you, I wish you good luck in your future endeavors. I know some of you guys have termed out, and for the rest of you running tomorrow, good luck. Curious to see what the next meeting holds, but I think Pam did a pretty good job describing the issues. The zoning ordinance, as it currently lays, or is currently spelled out, does require the two-story requirements. My contract states it has to be a one-story, that's what I'm willing to do. That's what my funding is based upon. If at some future point, as I'm going through the permitting process, future council or the planning department says, hey, it requires a two-story, or it's a two-story requirement, and there's an occupancy requirement to the two-story, I don't have the funds available to do that. I'm not an office developer. I'm not a residential developer. I mean, my plan is always, around this one-story retail use. So we're just kind of trying to clean that up. As Pam discussed, I think there are two avenues available to me. One is a variance, which I think is going to be the quicker avenue. The other avenue is a waiver, which is tied to actual permit applications, which I am in the design stage now. But that contemplates multiple potential reviews from the DRC, and then it comes to you. So I think it's a longer process versus the waiver. We're happy to go through the quickest scenario. And then having everybody here on record saying we support a one-story development obviously doesn't hurt. But, yeah, I mean, other than that, ready to go. I have some site plans and renderings that, renderings are a couple weeks out. Site plans I can pass out now, kind of where we're directed, but tenants are lining up, restaurants, financial institutions, coffee shops. So it's coming together.
Thank you, sir. Council, any questions? Councilman Pagorlik, then Councilman Ross.
Couple questions. Are these requests coming from the title company or the bank?
Two. So the two-story requirement is a bank requirement. As of right now, we're left open to exposure that you could, in fact, require a two-story occupied building, which was never what I contemplated, was not what I presented to you, but is in fact something that the council could come back and ask for. And again, in which case, I don't have experience doing mixed-use developments. I'm a retail developer.
Understood.
And then there's the REOA, which is the assessment that kind of governs the maintenance of the property as it sits right now. Everything to the north of Winn-Dixie, I think including the Winn-Dixie, is all part of one assessment or association. We're carving our piece out saying, hey, we're going to be responsible for our, call it 2.5 acres. The Richmond group will be responsible for theirs. Part of the title cleanup is we terminated the master development agreement, which had some city benefit requirements, public meeting halls, things of that nature, but that's all been cleaned up. The REOA amendments, title company has signed off on our portion, and then we're waiting comments for the Richmond part because we're all intertwined.
Understood. I guess I'm a little disappointed that the bank is now requesting this language about the two-story. If you go back to the original meeting minutes, there was discussion infinitum about you building a one-story space that looked like a two-story space. And they had those meeting minutes, I'm sure. So, for them to come, let me finish, please.
Sorry.
For them to come at the last minute and make this directive, I'm not against it, okay? It's disappointing that yet again we have another delay in our project because of something that the bank, quote, last minute wanted. Which gets me to my next question is there anything else that's going to delay us moving forward?
No, on record, there's nothing else.
Okay.
And to address your point, so I can do some two-story elements and features. Height, I can't do a two-story occupants requirement. And that's where it's a gray area where, in theory, as it stands today, you all or the next council could, or the development planning committee can say, technically this is zoned for multi-story, we want it. Even though the original agreement was.
Understood. But again, I'm going to refer you back to the meeting minutes. You were there. Okay.
I agree.
Okay. And we discussed ad infinitum that we weren't going to make you make a two-story building, but it needs to look like a two-story building. So as long as we're still on the same page.
I think we are, but every time I meet with members of the city, there have been comments that a two-story will be required, and I don't know what that means. If it's facade, if it's a portion of the building, if it's over the entranceway, if it's the entire width of everything I build, there's some ambiguity to what two-story means that we are attempting to resolve.
Okay, well, and okay. I will bite my tongue.
Thank you, Councilman Ross.
Assuming that we pass this resolution tonight, and I don't know that we will, but assuming that we do, when is this going to close?
Depends on the variance process, but I can have the application in the next 24, 48 hours. I believe that goes to one hearing that you all say we agree.
I'm looking for a date.
The next hearing is what, 2 weeks out?
Okay, well, we'll have a discussion.
Mr. Stevenson?
I don't know why, I'm starting to get the impression that you think that we're not gonna close until after you get a site plan approved. And
No,
that's never been a discussion.
I don't need a site plan approved. I need the two-story height requirement.
Well, they're looking
removed.
at passing this resolution, and it's my understanding that was all we needed was a resolution that you can take to your bank that we can get this thing closed. So
I have
I'm
to
looking
go-
at closing this thing tomorrow.
I will take this to my lender's attorney, and I can have a more definitive answer for you tomorrow.
Well, we've had discussions with the attorneys. I mean, it's my understanding that we're ready to close as soon as this resolution is approved by council. And I don't mean to interject, but it's certainly my understanding from all the conversations that we had on Friday, and correct me if I'm wrong.
No, that's correct. The purpose of having this put into the resolution was so that there would be something in writing approved by the city council that could be taken to the lender. And my emails with your attorney were that we are ready to close this week if this resolution passes tonight.
And just so I'm clear and I can take it back to the lender, this will live on with future council members. Yes.
I'm not expecting any new council members to change the decision of this council tonight.
Not expecting, but can you guarantee it? But there's my dilemma. So,
Which gets me back to my original question, why are you coming here at the last minute with this dilemma when we've been dealing with this property for, I don't know, how long have we been doing this? 10
because
months.
up until Friday of last week, my known process for getting this removed was an actual waiver process, which required me to submit darn near full-blown plans, which is a very lengthy process and very detailed process that has specific information for the tenants that until recently I didn't have signed up. They have architectural requirements, design elements that have to be implemented into the buildings. I can't submit something to you that I'm not capable of building, to have you sign off on it, grant the waiver, and then come back to you and say, oh, by the way, that's not really what I'm building. I need to do this.
Well, but at the same time, I think it's illegal for this council to say that we're going to pre-approve site plans that we haven't seen yet.
I agree, which I think is why I'm attempting to go down the variance process, which was not a known avenue to me until the end of last week, which is a process that can exclude the site plan approval and grant the variance to just the height requirement, so I can come in knowing that that is no longer required for my development.
Well, I got to tell you that I'm a little surprised about this whole conversation, but if this resolution that gets passed tonight, if it gets passed tonight, is not good enough for your bank, then it would be my suggestion to us that perhaps we need another developer. Because
Well, I will point out that-
there's been, let me finish. There's been meeting minutes that talk about the heights requirements. There's been meeting minutes about what the expectation of this council was for that particular parcel. We can't guarantee what another set of council's going to do. We can't pre-approve site plans. We're giving you all we can. If that's not good enough, we can't give you any more. And if we can't close this week, then, perhaps we need to go somewhere else.
Okay, but there are provisions in the contract that allow for this contingency to extend the contract, and I'm not looking to take the full amount of that term. I am looking to close as quickly as possible. I have tenants, I have obligations to develop for them. So I am trying to expedite this process with the help
But it sounds to me that you're not sure that even if we pass this resolution tonight, that your bank's gonna, is
I
actually.
can't speak for my bank.
Nor can I speak for future council. Nor can we, at this, tonight, can we pre-approve a site plan that we haven't seen.
And I don't know that the process needs to have a site plan attached to it, which is what I'm saying. There is a faster process, which is the variance process.
So I guess the question comes down to, again, if this resolution is approved tonight, and you take it to your bank tomorrow, are we gonna be able to close this week?
I don't know. That's the answer. I don't know.
Other questions? Yeah. Councilman Shalera.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Moon, for being here tonight.
Pleasure.
My question is, first of all, for our attorney, what does the contract say? How does the contract speak to this?
The contract did allow for a 90-day extension for the process of getting approvals completed. However, the way it's worded, it appears, in my opinion, to contemplate that a request be made by the purchaser. At this date, there has been no request ever filed by the purchaser, and we feel that because of the extension that had already been granted when we did the reinstatement, there's already been an extension of 90 days. My position for the city would be that it's time to close, that there is no more times for extension allotted under the contract, and if the purchaser has not applied or made any requests for any approvals, then they've simply waived that. That's something that should have been done at least 90 days ago. It's the November 1 closing has been known by everybody since we executed the reinstatement agreement.
I can go on record and say I have a difference of opinion. I'm willing to fight that matter. I would also like to state that as it stands today, there are title issues that our title company has not seen or signed off on. So I'm not saying that there are some items that are in my control. I'm saying that the city, prior to today, was not ready to close and couldn't close based on things in the amendment, in the reinstatement agreement.
If the reference is to the amendment to the REOA, that has already been stated as an exception within the closing documents, within the title commitment. It was in the contract that that would be an exception. However, even though it was agreed that that would be an exception, we have worked with both Paragon and with Richmond to amend that REOA. We are done. The reinstatement never required that we even reach an agreement with Paragon. It only said that we would try to reach an agreement with Paragon. There was no requirement that we actually amend it at all. However, we have accepted almost all of their requested amendments to that and incorporated Richmond's as well, so that everybody will be happy in this one agreement, because it is, what Mr. Moon said, it is intertwined. So we're trying to get both of the other parties to agree, but in fact, we have agreed to just about everything that Paragon wanted. I think our only holdup in that now is something that Richmond is talking about and doesn't affect Paragon at all. So we were ready to close last Thursday.
I will say that, yes, our part of the REOA amendment is agreed to. We have the right to review and at least take a look at what's going on in the Richmond group, which we haven't seen to date. So we're waiting on that.
We've sent them, they had it, we sent it with the red line version Friday. So.
And our understanding is
In fact,
Richmond
we
Group has
sent it
additional comments.
Wednesday. We sent it Wednesday, so that we were ready on Thursday. Again, the only thing we're really arguing about is something concerning Richmond and not Paragon.
Okay, that was a very long explanation. I'm just sitting here trying to digest without having the contract in front of me, because normally in these type of situations, the contract dictates the direction. and it's not what we assume or what we want or what we need. You know, I think everybody has worked in good faith to move this thing forward, and from what I'm understanding, by what you're telling me, or what you're requesting, Mr. Moon, is based on this resolution that the city was looking at to approving this evening, the mineral rights and a one-story development. That's the issues that are pending.
Yes.
Is there other issues
No.
pending? There's not any other issues
No.
pending? Okay, so I don't want to take a trip around the world and back and muddy this, because
Understand.
I think me and the rest of these folks want to move forward. Last thing I want to do,
And as
I
do
get
I.
it, I get it. Last thing we all do not want to do is sit up here and mudsling, because that will not be healthy for you or us or anybody else. We've done this thing way too long. You've got time and money invested in it, and we certainly do as well. So we really want to move forward, but we need to make sure that we're all on the same page. So if you can, I think, give a comfort level to the folks on this dais, I will be here after the election, because I'm not up right now, and I will tell you, I will strongly support and stand in your corner for a one-story development that has a look of a two-story, but it will be a one-story, like we've done with the others.
Right.
I don't know, there might be one little small building that has actually 2 stories, but everything else has, for the most part, been a one-story in our redevelopment area. I don't see anybody requesting that different from you. Now, being in your shoes, I'd probably ask the same thing, because some of your points are very valid, okay? But I need some kind of closure here. I need to know that these are my 2 outstanding issues, Frank, and if these are approved tonight, then I'm ready to move forward and close. I don't want to know that there's 3 or 4 or 5 other issues that we're going to come back. And in the future, if, I don't know what happened behind the scenes, I'm not there, but if something of this magnitude, and I don't know when everything's prepared, but I think it was said right after the last meeting, something of this magnitude comes up, call an emergency meeting. I don't care. Get this thing approved and go. 2 more weeks of time, you know how much interest that is? It's a lot of money. So we've, please understand where we're at. We've extended this thing and the contract expired. I mean, had cost you much more, but it's cost us a lot because we're paying the interest on that money right now.
Sure.
So we need to get it moving. I know it's cost you because you're doing your due diligence, but it's giving you some free time too, to extend. You don't have to go get that money and start paying interest on it. So what I'm trying to get at right now is, if this council was to approve the resolution tonight, which says the mineral rights puts you at a comfort level and clearly states that the building will be 1 story with maybe an elevation of a 2-story look like the other buildings have had, that would put you at a comfort level when you're ready to move forward to closing.
I mean, the short answer is yes. The longer answer, again, I can't speak for my bank, but yes, clearly that gives me significantly more comfort. And I'm just trying to think of outside the box of how to bridge the gap.
I'm just trying to
No,
help.
I am too.
Because the emotions are starting to get
Agreed.
running wild. So I
Agreed.
need the 3 folks that are,
I
that
don't-
are also running are sitting in the audience, so they're all privy to this conversation. Well, you're
I
here.
understand.
But I said the 3 folks that are running, you're already here.
So
So everybody's privy to this conversation.
I can't speak for the bank. I don't know if this resolution is satisfactory versus the actual variance being granted. I can get that answer for you tomorrow. I wish I had it for you today. I'm under the impression that we would go through the variance route. It would be voted on at the next meeting. I think you have to advertise 10 days before. And we do have to send letters out to any property owners within 100 feet of that property, which does affect some of the properties on the west side of 56th. So there's a process to go through it, but can all be handled in relatively short order, I think.
I'm sorry, Mr. Moon, you're saying a variance route. If we are passing this resolution tonight, that's giving you assurance that the building, you have your mineral rights the way you're asking them. The building will be permitted, allowed to be a 1-story building with a 2-story facade. What?
A two-story facade across the entire, everything, a two-story facade at entranceways, I mean, that does matter a little bit. I don't know what that means, and part of that is we won't know until we go in for plans, I understand that.
You will not be required to have a two-story building. The rest of it will be very similar to the conceptual plan that you presented this body when they awarded the contract to you to move forward. It's not going to be any drastic deviation from that presentation. I can assure you, it never has in the past with others, and it's not going to be with you.
So all I'm saying is, again, I can't speak for the bank. Here's what I can state. This gives me some assurance, yes. You all have gone on record, said you can't speak for future council members, even though you're in my corner, I understand that. The only thing that actually governs the one-story versus two-story would be a variance, would be a waiver. I would like to not have to go down that path as well. I don't have that answer. I'm hoping that this is satisfactory. But we're talking about what could be some, substantial difference in costs if future council says we want two-story. I had a meeting a couple weeks ago with a member of the city that said some sort of two-story occupancy would be required. And I had my partner in tow with me who agrees that's what was said. So I don't really know. And now, again, if this passes, I definitely have more comfort, but it's not a guarantee. And
Well,
that's what you're willing to
yeah.
give, and that's what I'm willing, that's what I can get
this-
tonight, I understand.
This has been going, this contract was in place in February. Okay, we're almost at the end of the year, and for something like this to come up now at the last minute of the last hour is really unfair to us. I mean, I want to move it forward. You and I have had conversations. Okay, I believe, development's great, and we want to do it, but there's got to be a time where we draw a line and say,
Sure.
enough's enough. I'm willing to support this resolution. I'm good with it. And I'm willing to support a one-story building that's got some sort of feature that makes it look, not like a typical 10-foot tall building. It's got to have some character to it that reflects that. But we can't keep continuing this thing.
I understand, and like you said, you brought out, okay, so it costs you to carry. What if, and I'm talking out loud here, what if I were to increase the purchase price, deliver money to you to cover carry costs for the portion of my property, including the funds that you would
Well,
receive?
Again, this is not the time to have these negotiations in an upper forum on the dais. These are the kind of discussions that, you should be having with our staff, and then they bring it to us. This isn't, we're on the eve of a closing, and we're having these discussions. It's just not, we can't do that. And I'm trying to, I'm very cordial.
No, you are.
I'm not getting excited, but I'm expressing, I think it's a little, unfair to us because this has been a long road.
It has been.
The contract expired, it's still a long time. The city didn't move on, they still tried to stay engaged with you. We reactivated the contract, so we're back, we re-engaged. So we want to move forward. We don't want to find somebody else, but, don't make us.
Understand that the contract expired through no fault of anybody in this room, that I went under a contract with a piece of property that couldn't at the time be conveyed to me. So that had to be cleaned up. So there
I
were
got that.
multiple missteps for both parties
I got
across
that.
the way,
But-
and
but-
there's
but-
no fingers being pointed.
but
It's been a
let's-
long process.
I'm not trying to point fingers. What I'm trying to point at is that you had a lot of time to look at and do due diligence and figure all this stuff out. That's all I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to say whose fault was it the contract expired. You heard me up here get very excited that that contract expired and we didn't know anything about it.
Right.
So I don't want to go there.
Right.
Where I'm focusing on right now is to land this airplane. And I want to make this happen if it's going to happen. If it's not going
As
to
do I.
land, then we decide what we have to do. But the goal is to bring closure here.
Agreed.
You're a smart guy. You've done this many times, development. You know what to look for and what to do. But, to come at this late hour and make these requests that have been there, it's not like they just popped up.
Well, up until last week, the only avenue I was aware of to get this removed was, again, the waiver request, which is going through the DRC, which as a developer, you understand the process and the upfront work that it takes you to get even to the DRC step. I wasn't prepared or ready to get there until now. And that had to do again with, it is a full site plan of what I am ready to permit for. It is four-sided building renderings of what I am ready to build to, inclusive of all my tenants' comments, which, again, until you get the executed leases, until you get their information, until you work with their architects, you don't have. One of the buildings is being built by the financial institution that I have and is not being built by me. So we have to incorporate their design elements into our submittals. We have to design similar features so it's a singular cohesive look. We have to go back and forth with their architect to make sure the colors match. It's a lengthy process. It's not, building an apartment is you design one thing and people will come. Building retail is very different, where every tenant has the potential of having say in what the building looks like. And when you're dealing with national tenants, they have a lot of say in what the building looks like. So again, until I got to this point where I'm at today, I was unable to get this through the DRC process. A new avenue was made available to me last week, again, that I was unaware of. And in fact, I had an email stating that my only process was the waiver process. So it's good news, but I did not know about it, not for lack of trying. So it shortens the time frame, but I mean, I'm on record stating that the avenue I thought I would have to take to get this removed was a very lengthy avenue that was in connection with basically submitting for my building plans.
Okay, and I need a little clarification here. The way the contract is written and described, normally, the contract would illustrate that the requirements to move forward to a closing is approval of conceptual plan and the site, what they're doing, the site plan, not building plans, not variances. That comes after the fact. Is that what's required to close? So it seems, based on what I'm hearing, is
There's a chicken or the egg a little bit.
we're trying to sort of put what comes later up now before the closing. And that's sort of, that's not the way it was originally, and certainly not the way I understood it, nor has it been the way we've, worked it in the past. So that's what I'm trying to understand. We basically have said it was 25,000 square feet. We basically approved the conceptual plan, close to, not off track, but, maybe tweak here and there. You did express concerns about a drive-through, and the city had said, yes, we can work with a drive-through. We didn't do a resolution of that, but you took our word for that. We said one story then, but now the one story is a problem. We're not here to get you.
I understand.
We want to be partners.
Nor am I.
I get it. We want to be partners, but you're not bringing that up, the drive-through thing. I mean, we said the code says no drive-throughs. But, you've talked
No,
this.
I have clarity from the planning department stating that my coffee shop use is an allowable use because it's not a restaurant where they prepare food. So I have comfort level with the drive-through.
You're comfortable with the drive-through?
Correct.
So right now, you're comfortable with the second story?
Correct.
Okay. Planning department, please come up here. I'm going to give you comfort level right now, on record. Please explain to me, or for the audience, if based on the conceptual plan that was presented by Mr. Moon, it could be tweaked to some degree, if a one-story use would be permitted on his project with some elevations that would, give a little appeal like we've done in the past.
Mhm.
Please give him a comfort level and let us understand where you're at so he can hear that.
Sure. So, of course, this discussion is based upon the two-story requirement, which per our land development code in the downtown overlay district, that is a requirement, states, pretty clearly. However, what is not clear is the facade. If there is a two-story facade, if that is okay or not, that, of course, is your discretion. And what I'm hearing now is that that would be acceptable. So, of course, if you find that to be acceptable, the planning department would have no issues with that.
Okay, let me take a step further. Mr. City Manager, because that wasn't a clear answer. I wouldn't be comfortable with that answer either. You were the development director back in the day. You are the city manager now. Would you support and recommend a one-story development with a two-story facade if Mr. Moon presents it in his project that resembles his conceptual plan.
Mr. Chalura, that has already been determined by council during the presentation. I have not suggested, nor has my staff suggested to him that he change that.
I don't want
To
my
answer your
to you,
question,
though.
yes, I would be supportive of a one-story look building.
Okay.
Okay.
So we have our city manager saying that. We have the director of community development coming up here to maybe, I want to give you a comfit level, because I get it. So
Yes, I mean, and he's a community development director, based on the conceptual plan presented, when Mr. Moon, gave it to the council. We saw that conceptual plan, we had a meeting with him and his staff, with his architect and engineer, and this is our understanding. The building is gonna be a one-story building. He will have a drive-through for the retail or the coffee shops. And if needs to be again down the road, once he submits the site plan, we will again provide the waivers to the code and allow him to build per conceptual plan presented to the council.
For clarity, you will recommend the waiver?
Absolutely, we will support and recommend a waiver for the one-story building for drive-through in downtown redevelopment. And this is the way we understood based on your presentation prior to moving to the contract and purchasing the property.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Nisi. Thank you, Mr. Stevenson. Okay, hopefully that gives you a comfort level.
Comfort level's going up.
And I know, I try to make it very clear for us, you,
Appreciate it.
and the folks that are gonna be here after November. So, I need to hear from you, though, that, you're ready to close, and if we approve this resolution tonight, there's no other issues.
There are no other issues in the zoning issue and mineral issue, correct. Again, I have to take this back to lender, but I mean, based on now recorded information, I would assume that this would suffice.
Okay.
I would assume.
So we can expect closing within a week, shall I say?
I can be more definitive tomorrow when I have a conversation with the bank. I hope so, yes.
Okay.
And I will move heaven and earth to make it as fast as possible.
Okay.
That you have my word on that.
Okay, that's the plan. If we hear, and I want to work with you, I get it.
I understand.
And if we hear that there's news otherwise, I want to know, and I suggest you let the other council members know as soon as possible. I want to move it forward, I want to work with you, but I don't want to prolong this thing.
Sure.
We're ready to launch, and we need to let the rubber hit the pavement here
Understand.
now, okay? So I want to provide you with whatever information, as at least one council member, I believe the others agree, with the information that gives you a comfort level. I don't want you going this thing uncomfortable. I think everybody wants this, okay?
Agreed.
I don't feel anybody's trying to get you or trick you or, because whatever message we send you sends out to the other developers that,
Agreed.
it's very difficult and uneasy. And you are the first one starting this new phase of development, and there'll be others behind you. So it's very important that we lead this thing off on the right foot, but
Agreed.
we have to have closure here. We have to, bring this thing in. So hopefully tomorrow, you're going to hear from Mr.
I will be in touch.
Moon, from his feedback from his bank.
Yes.
And with hopefully a closing date here within the week. Okay? Mr. Moon, is that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Boss, then Councilman Gorlick, and then Mr. Stevenson. Councilman Boss.
Yeah, really, the questions are for the city attorney, because we have a resolution before us regarding this issue here. And I guess it cropped up because of the bank, from what I understand, what you said 20, 30 minutes ago, if I remember that long ago. And it's bank issues, and you were working with the bank and their attorney in drawing up this resolution for us to clarify the issues, or?
I have had no communication with Mr. Moon's bank.
Okay.
I was informed a week ago Thursday when I met with Mr. Moon and his business partner that the bank was the one that had the concern about the guarantee of the approval of a one-story building. The other issues concern are concerns primarily of the title company. Within the title commitment, it specifically says that a resolution is going to be attached saying these things, and they let me know what these things were. I incorporated them into the resolution, and that's where we are now.
Okay, then that's what I was looking for, that you spoke with the title company so we can get this resolution worded correctly to satisfy their constraints or issues with
Title
everything.
commitment, yes.
And, we're talking waivers and everything, but I believe when we already voted to approve this months ago, that we looked at that concept plan and we all knew what it was, and now it's what was done, and hopefully this will be the necessary resolution to satisfy the bank and the title company, because I don't know how much more we can say. We're good with the plan that's here and we're ready to go.
Putting it into a
And we said it already.
resolution was really all I could do in short time since finding out that this was a problem, to try to alleviate any of their concerns. If a variance was required, this was something that needed to be applied for at least a month or two ago. So this was trying to satisfy them as best we could on short order.
I think the minutes tonight should be pretty clear. And
The minutes tonight are clear in my
We're
understanding.
perfectly comfortable with what's there
I will say that I did not know a variance was available to me
and
until
what's been
last week.
presented, and, I know other council members have comments, but, I'm prepared to go ahead and vote on this moving forward, because the longer we talk here, the longer it's gonna take to get things done tomorrow. And if we have to have another meeting after tomorrow, and then something comes up, we need emergency reading, I'm all ready for it, just like everybody else would be. As long with proper notification.
Thank you, Councilman Boss. Councilman Pagorlik.
Thank you. Did you invite the bank here tonight?
I did not.
Okay, when's the YouTube video available? Okay, if you need to, since you didn't invite them here tonight, which probably would have been a good idea, you can watch the YouTube video with them tomorrow.
Will do.
Okay, I don't know how much more comfort you can get than that. It would have been nice to have them here so that they could nod their head or up and down or left or right, whichever way they felt.
Right.
But absent that, the YouTube video will be available tonight or tomorrow morning.
I appreciate it.
That's all I had to say.
Thank you, Councilman Pagorlik. Mr. Stevenson.
Yeah, Madam Mayor, thank you. I just wanted to kind of make sure that everyone understood. This is something that came up Thursday late afternoon, last Thursday. Again, Mr. Schoen worked with the individuals, the developer's attorney, in order to get this resolved. It was my understanding, working through the weekend, that this was sufficient in order to satisfy the requirements of the bank. Now, if that has changed, we are not aware of that. This verbiage that is put in here for the one-story has been sent to your attorney. We have heard nothing back from them in a response or on any kind of objection. If that's the case, they should have been calling today, this morning, saying that verbiage isn't going to work. Neither Mr. Schoen nor I were absent from the office today. We've been here all day. Neither one of us have heard. So I'm assuming, and this is again, the resolution and the suggestion to put this resolution together came out of a combined discussion that we had with the attorneys for the developer. So unless there is something else that we're not made aware of, this ought to be sufficient in order to get closed and get funds released from the bank. So if that is not the case, you need to let us know.
I will, tomorrow.
And as
You
soon
have
as
my
you
word.
can.
Council, there is a resolution before us. Is there a motion?
Move to approve resolution number 18 between the city of Temple Terrace, Florida, and, let me make sure I get the name right here, right? Blah, 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 blah.
The resolution's going to be 131.
Oh, Resolution 131, I'm sorry, Resolution 131. It says 18. I'll just say resolution number 131.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Councilman Ross.
Yes, I do have some discussion. First of all, I have some concerns about what we're doing here. We're paying interest on this amount of money every time we kick this closing down the road. This is for our discussion here. every time we delay this closing, or it gets delayed, we haven't delayed it, we're paying interest on this money. That's money that we can't recover because the selling price isn't changing. So we get less money every month. If we don't close this until December, we get less money. This thing keeps getting delayed. I was under the understanding that the bank required this resolution in order to close this deal because they wanted some written assurance that we were not going to change our minds and demand a two-story structure. Now, we've heard from the developer that the resolution alone is not sufficient. I don't know why we're even doing this resolution if it's not sufficient. If he's going to initiate a variance process and have to go through that, what's the point in us even doing this resolution? Why did our attorneys waste their time coming up with this resolution? What he should have done is just ask for a delay so he can go through the variance process. Apparently, this resolution we're passing, according to what he said tonight, means nothing. He's not satisfied because the new council might overturn it. The third, no, this is our discussion, okay? The third thing that I'm concerned about is the resolution here that we're making. I'm not opposed to it in concept because we always agreed to a one-story building with a second-story kind of feature. That's okay. But we're basing this resolution on the conceptual plans that he presented to us on day one. If we pass this resolution and this deal falls through, we now have a resolution in place that says that we're okay with one-story buildings. The new developer's conceptual plans may not include the second-story features that his did. And they may say, well, you've got a resolution here that says you're good with one story, so we're going to build a 12-foot high building, right? So I can't support this unless we put a closing date on this. As far as I'm concerned, if this resolution is not sufficient for the bank, the title company, the developer, and if they can't close this deal by Friday, we don't need to close it. We need to put it back on the market because the only way we're going to recover the money we've lost from this extra interest payments is to put it back on the market for a higher price, which I think we can get. So I'm good with the resolution and concept. If he can close this deal by Friday, that's fine. But if he takes this resolution back to the bank tomorrow and they say, no, this is insufficient, you got to go through the variance process, I say we just cancel. We get a new developer.
Other discussion?
Well, I don't disagree with Andy. I'm going to be in support of getting this moved forward. But then I'm like, if it can't be done within a certain time frame, we can have a meeting and we can discuss that. But until we know, we can't get anything done. But, and just like if you have a new developer that comes in, just like you could change your vote, you could change that. Because it's a completely different concept plan regarding those issues. But if we don't get this point done, then we don't know what's going to happen with the bank. If we find out it's not going to happen quickly enough, then we can set up a meeting. Everyone's available. Everyone can meet. Everyone knows how we have to be able to expedite this, and we can get an emergency meeting to go ahead and go through that process of what you just described. But I think if we don't move this point forward, we're not going to get to the next point yet.
Councilman Chiller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The only thing I would suggest is, the resolution be contingent upon this property closing. And number two, if Mr. Moon calls and says I can close before Friday, fantastic. If he calls and says I can't close before Friday, then the city manager should be directed to call a special meeting for us to regroup and decide which way we're going to go. Okay? Then we can, it could be Thursday, Friday, but sooner is better than later. Okay? Because I think Mr. Moon gets the sentiment here that we're pretty serious about it. I think we certainly want to work with you, and move this forward, but we do have to, at some point, throw the ball. So that's would be my suggestion to take in consideration if it's acceptable to the rest of you is the motion that's been there, making contingent upon closing, and if we get a response tomorrow, my understanding is Mr. Moon is going to call the city manager, and if he says I can close by Friday, fantastic. And then if he can't, then he schedule a special meeting, and we regroup and have our discussion, decide which way we're going to go. Is that fair?
Thank you, Councilman Chiller. I would ask Councilman Pagorlik if you'd like to amend your motion.
I'll amend to include the language as discussed by Mr. Chilor.
Very good. We have a motion. We have a motion, we have a second, we've had discussion. Is there any further discussion? All in favor of this resolution, please signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the nay sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you for being here, Mr. Moon. Is there any other carryover business for council? That would be new business. So is there any other carryover business? Okay, new business?
Okay. I do have in the audience the new business. We don't normally do it this way.
Your mic.
Your mic's not on.
Oh, I'm so sorry. It was alluded to earlier in the meeting that there's a real need for us to have a water goat, and you have some information at your seats tonight to learn about, a little bit about it. And this is what makes us amazing, is that we have a grassroots effort here of people, and I'd like to invite Sue to come forward, if you don't mind, because she has some posters. I believe you went to the Riverwatch meeting this evening to talk about this. This is one of those things that just requires the city to be a partner. This group, led by the group, and if any of you are on Facebook and you ever get to see the beautiful pictures of Bob Luce, you would see that every week Mr. Luce goes out and in his kayak, and he's cleaning up the river single-handedly, but he's also taking the most incredible photos of our river. And so the object here is to show people how beautiful the river is, and then to show them that, there's also the ugly side. But there's an easy way to fix, or to at least help contain, the ugly things that go into the river that end up contaminating and actually killing our wildlife. So we have this beautiful calendar that we will be selling at the Arts and Crafts Festival, which is this, by the way, I'm glad that, thank you, Mr. Pogorlich, you do not have to be there from 7 a.m. until 6 p.m. You just have the opportunity to park during that time. The festival is from 10 to 4, both Saturday and Sunday, and they've agreed to partner with this loosely based organization, who, by the way, is partnering with other organizations in Temple Terrace to get this done. So it doesn't require money from the city, but it will require a commitment. And I've already had meetings with Mr. Stevenson saying, and behind the posters there, Public Works, saying that they're definitely willing to partner with, once we have this water goat established. The reason we're bringing it to you tonight is because that most likely could, matter of fact, come before us at some point when we have to write the grant. Just like the grant that was mentioned earlier, this is one of those that, yes, they do need corporate sponsors, but they have the corporation who invented this and who manages this. They want to work with cities and groups like ours to the point that they will help us to actually write this grant and help us go down that way. The total cost of the water goat, if we were buying it, is roughly $5,000. So we have to sell quite a few calendars, but please, would you let them know more, because you definitely are the guru here, and I'm just the messenger.
Thanks. Good evening. Just for a couple minutes. My name is Sue Drenberg, and I live on Gascon Place. My husband and his family, and I own a commercial printing business, and I worked in the graphic arts field for many years. So after seeing all of Bob Luce's beautiful photos on Facebook and his commentary about what are we going to do about this, what are we going to do, we need help. So I said to my husband, what if we do a fundraiser and see how far we can go with it? And then when the Arts Festival was mentioned, we decided to have a booth there along with a representative from Water Goat this weekend. And we will be selling these as a donation, and for $20. $15 of that goes purely towards our fundraiser. So my husband's business cut the cost of printing this to cost. And he and I came up with these and made these the other day. So it's just a personal thing that I'd like to try to do, and with help from everybody and anybody, and kind of make it a citywide fundraiser where we can have some of these calendars available at certain places that people can buy. It's a time thing, it's a calendar for this upcoming year, so the sooner the better. and we'll see how far we can take it. And if it means that we have to come up with other ideas to raise money to help, and we can work with Mark from Watergoat. But he's a busy man. They're getting calls from the UK. So it's a popular thing, and it's simple, and it works. It catches all that litter that comes out of these stormwater drains during bad storms and heavy rains and goes into the river. And things that, have blown off the street and whatever and gone into the river, that collects on the shoreline. And this man gets out of his inflatable kayak and goes to visit his favorite alligator nest to see how the babies are doing. The man's a little crazy, but he loves doing that. And in the meantime, he takes this beautiful photography to show us what, a beautiful thing we have here in our city. The other poster shows the ugly side with just a few photos of the litter that he collects and brings back in his kayak with other-ish items such as chairs and tires and the debris that he puts in garbage bags and dumps, in the trash. So it's a one-man effort on his part, but it's something that I hope we can educate maybe in the schools, our young children about littering and where it ends up, to have them see a visual and understand how even one piece of litter can make a difference, one plastic bottle. So, okay?
Thank you.
Any
Thank you for
questions?
allowing me to introduce this.
Thank you.
Well, first I want to thank you and your husband for doing what you're doing. My question, though, is, and I wish the water goat guy was here, because I do have some experience with water goats. And based on my experience is that the water goat works great in like a pond or a city collection pond, or, the ponds you see along the side of the roads, the DOT ponds. It doesn't work so well when you have lots of flowing water like we have in our river. Now, if that technology has changed, I'd certainly like to know about it because it'd be a great idea, but I'd like to hear more about how they're going to handle, the flows that you're going to get in the river and the limitation, at least the past limitations of the water goat, as well as the water goat's limitations as to, mentioned chairs and other stuff.
Well, that's just other debris that we
yeah,
see in the river. They're
yeah.
not coming through the stormwater drains.
Yeah, but
you know.
the other limitation that I'm aware of with the water goat is the size of the debris. So I
Well,
would,
as you can see, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
that's okay, so I would be interested in seeing how, maybe technology's changed a little bit that can handle the larger debris, that'd be
Oh,
great.
okay.
And also how the water goat can handle the bigger flows, because you don't get flows in a pond. You get flows in a river, and that's been a limitation of the water goat in the past, and I'd be certainly interested to see if that's changed.
Okay. If I can just, in my opinion, and I think is kind of a point, if you can see the one picture of the one that was recently installed at Temple Crest Park, I know that this is hard for everybody to see. It's where these stormwater drains come out and flow into the river. It's shoreline that we're talking about. It's not sitting out in the middle of the river. It's really close to shore, and that makes the ease of getting it out, to clean it out. And it's I don't think, except during big storms, but he does mention in some of his writings, his literature, that it can withstand quite a bit of change in elevation and of heavy rainstorms, but it's not perfect. But it does a really good job. So, and I went over and personally sought that one out. My husband and I drove over one day this past summer, and we found it, and we saw it, how it was, doing its job. But it also has to be a really good shoreline approach for us to make that accessible. And that's one thing that we have going on here, is we don't have a lot of level land. We have, a lot of drop-offs. So Bob has pointed out that the one stormwater drain that comes from the other side of 56th Street is really one of the worst. Not sure if it's Tampa or Temple Terrace, but that's one of the ones that he pinpoints, and there is one near the park going toward, to the north. So it's I wish he was here too. But I have seen many pictures on either his Facebook page, the Facebook page for WaterGoat, or watergoat.org, which is some of the printouts that aren't very good quality that I had to print for tonight. And Tampa Bay, Keep Tampa Bay Beautiful, their website. And there's a lot of pictures. And there's pictures of the Bank of America volunteers with their shirts on and, you know, being all gung-ho and helping, and that's the other side that makes this work. It takes people. When they take all that trash out of that water goat, when it's pulled ashore, from shore, there's no boats involved, they sort the trash, and they take data on how many plastic bottles there are, and how much styrofoam there is, and how much does the whole load weigh. And those numbers are being kept by Water Goat to show what an impact this can make. So, that's all I know.
Thank you.
Sue, I'd like to thank you as well for being here this evening, and I might request that Mr. Stevenson, if Sue could be put on an upcoming agenda. The challenge when you're introduced under new business is there are a lot of supporters, as you know, in our community, people who love our nature, people who love our river, people who love our environment, who I think if you were placed on a formal agenda, and perhaps we could even get Bob to be here, but on a formal agenda, then we really could have that support from the community who would be here, that I think you would probably engender some wonderful volunteers, and it gives you another opportunity to also share with those that are part of the audience and viewing to really learn more about this. And I believe Councilman Ross also had a comment.
I did. I regret that I had to miss the Riverwatch Task Force meeting today. It's the one I couldn't make. I had to work, but I regret that I wasn't there because there's a lot of historical knowledge here. We've talked about this for a long period
aware
of
of
years,
that,
and
right.
I would have liked to have been aware of this to add some of that. There's a reason we don't have this already. Now, not to say that we shouldn't get it, but there's some things that happened in the past that have prevented us from doing
Well,
this.
we're trying again.
Yeah, so I'd like to have been,
We're aware of that.
yeah, if I'd have known that she was
This
gonna
is-
be there.
Yeah, this is really, what spurred this whole thing on was this time of the year and wanting to get this calendar done and do something right away so we could maybe start raising money. And also the Arts Festival, we thought was a great venue to have this done in time. So it did happen quickly. I apologize, I didn't.
Yeah,
with-
well, the
you
other
know.
reason I'm saying that is because as the liaison to the Riverwatch Task Force, I'm also Temple Terrace's representative and the vice chairman of the River Board for the whole county.
Okay.
So I could have, if had been involved in this or a little earlier, I might still like to get plugged into this, because
We
I
can
can
do
open
that.
up a lot of resources that you,
We can do that.
yeah, this is the
I
first I've
believe
heard of it.
You're, at this point, officially invited.
Well, but it's already, the ship is kind of,
Well, we're
No.
just selling the calendars at this point.
Nothing is
So
sailed.
This is the very beginning.
It is, yeah, we're right in the early stages here.
Thank-
Okay, thank you, though.
Thank you for being here. Is there any additional new business to come before council? Councilman Chalura.
Madam Mayor, thank you. Not that we're asking now because there's going to be some turnover here on the dais, but what I would like to do is in the near future, council consider that the redevelopment guidelines be relooked at. I think that some of this stuff is scaring people away, hence why nobody's developed in Temple Terrace in God knows how long in the redevelopment area. I think we need to look at realistic guidelines. If we're not gonna, support two-story buildings, then make it an option, don't make it mandatory, so we don't have stuff like this. The development that Velas did, that's all one story with a two-story facade. I don't know that there's been any two-story developments. The bowling alley that turned into public storage, there's no, if it's two-story, it's for storage. We're kidding ourselves, we're shooting ourselves in the foot because developers come here and look at that and say, oh, I gotta do two-story. They may not be savvy enough or have the endurance to come before this council or deal with the city government or government in general and say, too much, I'm not gonna do it. So I know Mr. Stevenson has touched on this before, but I think that it really has to be an initiative that is put on the front line that we consider. Everybody talks about redevelopment. And I don't think that it is fine-tuned to a point where it's conducive to the type of development that you're going to get in the city. And if those folks that disagree with that, I ask them, show me the development. It's not coming here. It's not coming. We waited for 15 years. And And when it does come, you have to give them the shirt on your back to make it happen. So I really think we need to take a hard look at, the standards that we're imposing on developments. Because when folks are coming in, we're giving all these waivers. And if there's waivers that are common, that are being given, maybe those are waivers that shouldn't have to be requested. They should just not be demanded. When they redeveloped the old post office, it's a one-story building. They have a drive-through. This development here has a drive-through. I mean, these are things that I think that hurt us more than help us, because originally we had this big grandiose idea, and I don't know that it's realistic for the type of product that we are that we retain in this community for folks to come in and take on that investment, because there's an economic impact. If they're going to make it, they'll spend it, but they're not going to make it. And some folks aren't willing to spend the extra money for the attractive buildings. This market just does it. They don't want to do it. They'll go up the street or up on Bush Boulevard and say, well, it's only $12 a square foot over there. Why am I going to pay $16, in the redevelopment area? And I've seen it myself. I've lived it. So I'm just telling you, if we want to be realistic, we should take a look at that. If we wanted to keep living in this bubble we've been living in for the last 15 years, then, keep moving on where you've been, and you'll continue with that. And also what I would like is to, and I'm not going to say much online here, but I would like the folks from the city to have a very good grip and understanding on our contract with the developer. Because I know when there's a flaw with the title, as you know, they have so many days to correct and cure title. I don't believe this contract says that we have to give you more time to go get a variance. That is after the fact issues. So we need to know, okay, you have X amount of dollars, not just this developer, any developer, okay? I'm not trying to pick on the one that was here tonight, but just for our knowledge, if you have a drop dead date, that's the purpose of the money, that you put money up to go hard. If you don't close on that date, you lose that money. And maybe in the future, we need to look at, if there are extensions beyond that point, it costs this much more every month that goes by, or every day that goes by, to have a little incentive and motivation that, up front, everything's wonderful, but once we get into it like we're doing now, we're like, oh, wow, wish we would have did that a little differently. And I'm not faulting anybody, but, we learn as we go. So I think any future contracts, we may want to look at that. But this current contract has to have parameters in place that the contract cannot just be extended just because I want to extend it or my bank's not comfortable with it. Show me in a contract where it says we have to fix it or you have more time. If you don't, close or your money's gone. So that's the type of responses. I hope that, speaking of this particular developer, that they call you tomorrow, say we're ready to close Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Hallelujah, fantastic. If not, we need to know those answers. And I want a long answer. I want, yes, they can do it, no, they can't, and this is what the requirement is. So we're all on the same page with that, because we got to stop. We got to stop this. We got to launch it, and it doesn't look good. I'm not faulting anybody. I want to just understand that contract, and it's got to be ironclad, so this can't continue to happen, because there's been a lot of time that, we have exhausted and not been compensated for, as Mr. Ross and others have indicated, that, it costs money every day that we don't close that loan. So just the redevelopment guidelines is something that maybe, obviously not going to happen now, it'll be with the new council. And then the contract, that's going to happen probably pretty quickly, depending what the answer is tomorrow. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Councilman Shalera. If there's no other new business to come before us, City Manager Stevenson, City Manager's report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a few announcements here. Mr. Langfeld provided us with an estimated number of people that took advantage of early voting, and it summed up to be 10,000 people, which is amazing. We've got the Art Festival this Saturday and Sunday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. There is a Veterans Celebration and Ceremony Sunday at 11 o'clock at Woodmont. Everyone is encouraged to go. Saturday is the Trot Through the Terrace. It begins at River Hills Park. And just a quick reminder, tomorrow is Election Day.
Sunday at 11.
Quick reminder to, or at least our 4 candidates that are here in the audience and at the dais, that their signs need to be down in 7 days. If you guys would do that, that would save us a lot of work. And I'm sure Mr. Baroni and Mr. Tinch would probably enjoy that, so that we don't have to engage our people to do that. So if I can get everybody's cooperation with doing that, that would be wonderful. Madam Mayor, that's all I have.
If there's no further business to come before this body, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.